Our guest speaker was a DHS class of 1991. He was a member of the 1990 Class S State Championship team. He's a graduate from Western Connecticut State University with 2 degrees, one in social science education and another in political science. Luckily, he still resides in Derby. He is currently a lock desk manager at Total Mortgage of Milford, and he's our vice president of Derby Little League. Please welcome Rob Hyder.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'd first like to begin by thanking Mr. Pascal and Coach French for inviting me to speak before you today. And I'd especially like to thank the members of the Derby Rotary Club for continuing this important tradition year after year. It's quite an honor to be here, and I'm extremely humbled by this opportunity. I'd like to take this opportunity to speak to you about both my playing days at Derby High School and also how my high school football career has helped shape my life. Specifically, I want to talk to you about leadership, family, and trust. But I want to go back a bit further to a time before I even stepped foot onto the campus of Derby High School. Before even entering the building, I knew what it meant to be a Red Raider. Back when I was 10 years old playing Pop Warner football, I would go to Ryan Field and watch the Derby High School football team in awe. I would ask my grandfather to pick me up early on Saturday morning so we can get to the field at the same time the players were arriving. I'd just sit there and watch them put their pads in their pants and clean off their spikes, getting dressed for the game, just hoping that one of them would just say hello. Because I was a center in Pop Warner, I idolized Joey Sadik, Derby High School center. I even wore Joey's number 54 in Pop Warner, and also during my freshman year at Derby High School. I learned the position by imitation, and while times have changed, the younger kids in Derby still idolize you. My son Michael speaks often of Jake Finucane as if they're best friends. And I asked Michael, how do you even know Jake Finucane? And he says Jake was a counselor at our camp this summer, and he would always play football with me and my friends. So you see, the little things like that often make a big impression on kids younger than you. So without even realizing it, you guys are having an influence on future football players at both Derby and Shelton High School. And that can be very powerful. The younger kids are always watching, so make sure you're always doing your best, always act responsibly, always put your best foot forward in anything you do, because you never know who's watching. And possibly without even realizing it, you're not only leaders in the football field, but you're also leaders in the classroom, and you're leaders in your communities. A true leader inspires others, and a true leader is respected by those who follow them. Jack Welch is a retired business executive who was the chairman and CEO of General Electric in Fairfield, Connecticut for 20 years. As one of the world's most respected CEOs, he's known for his unmatched track record of success and his fierce passion for winning. And during his tenure at GE, the company's value rose 4,000%. And the reason I bring up Jack Welch is because he once said, before you are a leader, success is about growing yourself. And when you become a leader, success is about growing others. So for the first 3 years of your high school career, you were growing yourselves. You were watching the older leaders around you. And now that you're the leaders, you are growing others. You're molding the younger players on your team and the younger kids in town who look up to you as role models. You'll continue to be role models in your communities even after you move on to college. And hopefully some of you will even have the honor of standing at this podium someday addressing these future leaders. I had the opportunity to watch this Derby High School football team as practice began back in August. And as the season progressed, I couldn't help but compare this team to my own from 25 years ago. I'm especially honored to be speaking to the seniors of this particular class today. Because of the grit and determination that I've seen on a weekly basis from your team is reminiscent of Derby's proud past. I've seen players picking each other up. I've seen older players leading by example, and I've seen the selflessness from this group for the good of the team. The Rotary's motto of service above self can certainly be attributed to your efforts this season. As individuals with special talents, you'll come together collectively, win or lose, to play football the way it's supposed to be played in Derby. Derby's fans and former players have been longing for this type of snot-nosed, I'm going to smack you in the mouth type of football for a while. So regardless of the outcome on Thursday morning, This group has certainly earned your red and white feathers. I'd now like to rewind back to my senior season of 1990. It was 25 years ago, on a Tuesday afternoon before Thanksgiving, that I sat in the same seats that you are today as my high school football career was nearing an end. More importantly, as I sat in those seats, I was sitting with some of the greatest friends I've ever had. And over the past 25 years, we've laughed and hugged at each other's weddings, and we've cried and hugged at each other's funerals. But through it all, we've always been there for each other. And if I ever needed to call on any of them for any reason, they would be there like family. And family was the actual theme that the 1990 Derby High School football team adopted before our season even began. We vowed to pick each other up when things got hard, and we vowed to work with each other to reach a common goal. Some of my teammates lived in places like Washington, D.C., Georgia, Florida, Texas, and even Australia, and some still live around the valley. And incredibly, even after 25 years, that family theme has never been broken and is as strong as ever today. Just a few short weeks ago, many of my classmates and teammates got together to be honored for the 25th anniversary of that 1990 season when Derby played Holy Cross. Former players arrived from Florida, Texas, New York, and when we got together again, we never skipped a beat. It's an unbreakable bond that was created by this amazing game in Connecticut's small city. Now back to 1990. A week or so before the first game of the season of my senior year, the so-called experts predicted that Derby was going to finish 7-3. And if we played well enough, maybe even 8-2. Those predictions only served to fuel our fire to prove everyone wrong. Coming into Thanksgiving Day, Derby was 9-0 and had already locked up the Housatonic League Championship. One more win against Shelton, and we were in a Class S state championship game. As I recall, Shelton entered the game with a record of 4-5, looking to finish at 500 and end Derby's season at the same time. It was a game that weighed heavily on our minds, and as the clock expired, Derby prevailed 14-3, and we were headed to Jestow Field at Southern Connecticut State University to compete for a state championship. Housatonic Valley Regional entered that championship game also with a record of 10-0. And to make this a long story short, Derby dismantled Housatonic Valley Regional by the score of 41-0 that afternoon, and subsequently was selected as the #1 team in the state of Connecticut. Not bad for a team predicted to finish 7-3 in your league. But when you're not just a team, and when you're a family, anything is possible. Throughout my life, I've been extremely fortunate to be successful both on the football field as a player and on the baseball field as a coach. I've been coaching baseball since 1997, and I've coached everything from 5-year-olds playing t-ball to 10-year-olds playing travel baseball to 18-year-olds playing varsity baseball for their high schools. But to compare baseball and football wouldn't be fair. And while they're both team sports, the comparisons really stop there. In baseball, there isn't a teammate ready to help a batter swing at a curveball, and there isn't a teammate ready to help a fielder field the grounder to the shortstop, and there isn't a teammate helping that runner steal second base. However, football is a totally different animal. A running back who rushes for 200 to 300 yards per game cannot do it without his 5 linemen busting their butts up front, play in and play out. A wide receiver isn't making that game-changing catch without a throw from the quarterback, who isn't making that throw without the protection of his linemen. And while you can build character while playing baseball and football, it's on the football field where you learn the most intangible trait of all, and that's trust. To be trustworthy is probably the most important attribute you can possess as you go through life. Earning trust will get you promoted in your careers. Earning trust will make an impact on your community. Earning trust will bring you more happiness than you can imagine in your personal relationships with your family, your friends, and most importantly, your spouse and your children. Today, I'm successful in my career working as a lock desk manager at a secondary markets department of a very profitable mortgage company. My marriage of nearly 17 years to my high school sweetheart is as solid as it's ever been. My relationship with my 2 amazing children is as genuine and secure as I ever could have hoped. And all of these successes that I've enjoyed in my adult life can be traced back to the lessons I learned playing football for my coach at Derby High School, Charlie DeCenzo. Coach DeCenzo has probably had the most influence on my life than any other coach or teacher that I've ever had. He taught us to trust in him and to trust in each other. He built a football family, and we trusted him like family. Because of his leadership, our trust in our family, the sky was the limit. And I've known many of these coaches here today from both Derby and Shelton for a very long time. They're as dedicated as they come. If I have any advice for you here today, it's to trust your coaches, trust your teammates, and trust yourselves. When you do that, and when you lead by example, build that trust and live like a family, the sky is the limit. Before I conclude, I'd like to ask a favor of each of you from both teams. I promise you won't regret it. Over the next day or so, I'd like you to dedicate your effort in Thursday's game to a special person in your life that has made an impact on your football career. I want each of you to dedicate your effort, not the game, your individual effort to this person. Maybe it's your mom who's been washing your uniform since the first day you put it on as an 8-year-old. Maybe it's your grandfather who made it a point that you didn't miss your childhood idol's games. Whomever you choose, make that decision before you lay your head on that pillow tomorrow night. Put your best foot forward, leave it all on the field, and you won't have any regrets. Thank you again for allowing me to speak to you this afternoon, and best of luck to both teams on Thanksgiving morning.